Hey guys, it's Kusi. Let me welcome you to episode 3 of our Zero to Hero of Darwin Nunes, in which we attempt to climb the ranks of Mythic Plus, pugging by playing a tank, which was the winner of our close final poll between Blood Decay and Vengeance. Considering those are the lowest populated on plus 12 and above out of all of the tanks, that says a lot more about you than it does about me. Disregarding, so far we managed to not die. How about that? We abuse the system of getting way too much gear, way too quick, with the nebulous coins, aka the myth gear dispenser, and we managed to just smoothly sail through the caverns, even though that was the key most tanks struggled with when I was on the healer. So what's up for today? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, I can sit here and talk about the 10s I did. Sure, how I got fed up cause no one plays the affix and thus we always got the debuff go through whenever I didn't have AoE grip ready to use, or when I did have it ready to use and I just wanted to see if they do anything about it. But instead, I will show you a vault. A banging one, matter of fact. Actually, it was bad because I had 3 super good choices to pick from. And then I will also walk you through my first plus 12s I've done, in which I found a very bitter pill to swallow. Because even though I confidently stated that a tank has all the power in the world to time the keys, you can't save everyone apparently. And for the first time this season I found an issue I never encountered before, simply because it got changed so much in the season. We lack damage. Shit's crazy. So relax, kick back, like the video and subscribe if you haven't, and let's talk about how keys could go wrong because of my mistakes and even without my doing. But first, we do have a vault as I mentioned. Not only did we get all dungeons done on 10 for 3 myth slots, we also rocked 2 hero raid slots cause your boy was determined. Didn't get the gate's last reset, so I got some hopes for this vault. But there are 2 more trinkets from the raid I wouldn't mind collecting. That's the only reason why I kinda did it. And we do start off strong. We got the Occlusion of Void, which is huge for multiple reasons. Big crit, and I already got the Omniscience of Light. While this is not omega important and the set being a lot more clickbaity than anything, at least one would call this a W in case we don't get anything else. But boy howdy, did we get something else. Solar Flare Prism. Ooh, big trinket. Nice stats. We love some crit on this channel, man. Fantastic. Easily more value to me than the ring at this point. Yeah, no. Nope. Oh, yes, give it to me, daddy.
What do you mean by that?
Well, actually, okay, wait, hold up. Hear me out. Gaze of Al Nasser is crazy because if you look into the eye closely, you can hear the ancient Portuguese war cry. But here's the truth. I did Dream Rift once and rerolled. Meaning at this point, I got a 50-50 chance if I reroll on the boss again to receive the item. Which then means I could walk out of this vault with the Gaze and the Solar Flare Prism. 2 insane trinkets at once. So the question is, do we gamble like a loser or just take the gaze and move on? But then it dawned upon me, you are only a loser if you lose.
And that's a fact.
So you best believe I went in there, tanked that bitch with determination, lost the roll of course, and lost the coin flip too. Well, that's embarrassing. Okay, so now we figured out how little a gambling addiction is worth, so it's time for some upgrades. I used all my crests, crafted a ring, and this is what we're looking at right now. I'm gonna say, quite massive.
That's what she said.
And I'm not just talking about those thunderous dwarven dice. Now with that being said, it is absolutely diabolical how much gear the game throws at you these days. Holy shit, man. Keep in mind, I used 4 out of the 10 coins to reroll for the Dream Rift boss. However, because the first 2 plus 12 keys I did were the same keys I showed you last episode, which I don't think is a coincidence because that's the only keys I get invited to, we do a little skip towards the actual 3rd plus 12. Quick route check, so you can make fun of me in the comments. Granted, this isn't the route I wanted to play, but it's the one I played eventually after making a few adjustments due to my party. Now, Seed has plenty of mechanics that hurt the party, but most of them are cleansable. For example, the Merciless Subjugator and their spell Chains of Subjugation. This thing ticks pretty heavily, but is removable with most movement cleansing abilities. We're talking Freedom, Tiger's Lust, Warrior's Berserker Rage, Disengage, Mage Applying Barrier, Demonic Circle on Warlock, Vengeful Retreat, you name it. Breath Walk probably also works, or just AMS beforehand. It's so many spells. I think besides Rogue, of course, every class should have some tool to avoid this mechanic every now and then. And you should use it. Not only does it take hard, but it also damages people around you right when it's applied. So if you happen to be stacked, good night baby. Now I want to start off the run with a double Subjugator pull due to Bloodlust, and I think that's fair for this key range. On higher keys, people go apeshit and pull all 4, but question is on which key level this actually is required to time the key. I feel like a lot of people just do that because they saw it in MDI. Afterwards, I just make sure to pull some extra, rather non-dangerous mobs on the single subjugator to make up for the time. And then we also wanted to pull the boss with some extra trash due to funneling. However, keen eyes will spot a problem here. We lack some juice. Definitely not what I was expecting. Maybe adding thrash onto the boss wasn't the right shout here, but then again, we need to make up for the time. When I joined the key, we didn't have the healer yet, and I've seen he's some giga chat, so I had to make him suffer a little bit more to get ahead of the timer. I continued my normal route for now, but quickly figured out that I need to adjust some things according to what our party brings to the table. So instead of pulling mobs that require the attention of DPS with mechanical gameplay, or dare I even say it, interrupts, I focused a little bit more about packs that just dish out more party damage in full belief of our healer. And it worked out fine. Only 2 casualties till the second boss, and one of which was because we all figured out another thing we had to overcome. The latency of our demon hunter. Lil bro had some solid connection issues and often just had mad lag spikes for occasionally half a minute or so. However, besides that being bad news, I figured out very quickly there was more. You see, I made a save file thingy in my MDT, so I can check out how much percent I need before going into the next area with my current planned route, and I do need 65.32%. But because I don't have an add-on that gives me the detailed percentage, I wasn't too sure, but I assumed it's enough to continue, and so we pulled. I mean, what are the odds that I'm lacking 0.3%, right? Tips for the boss are pretty simple. Kick the bad all the times. I'm happy DK kicks have some range attached to it. And for the party, make sure to stack up as much as you can, because both of his pets jump to the party members, and if you stay close, easy peasy. If you happen to leave out an orb or 2 after phase dash run out, try to take them as a tank, unless you have someone with AMS in the party. I don't know if other immunities work, but sometimes it's a bit sketchy. AMS works for sure. And even as a DPS, you can easily take one of them. Just make sure to use a cooldown if there's more damage coming. Now at this point I was very amazed and I figured out the issue I mentioned earlier. These people in my party aren't necessarily bad players. They play mechanics. They detonated every ball even by purposefully moving towards them without min-maxing DPS, which is something you don't see often, and it makes the fact that we lacked a lot of damage even more confusing, as so far in my experience within this season, everyone just does a huge amount of damage and just never plays mechanics. Needless to say, the timer got tighter and tighter, and it didn't help that our demon hunter had another huge lag spike to die, and then just another one when we entered the boss room, because we waited and waited and waited until he got back and then instantly died on the first mechanic, assuming to another lag spike. Oh yeah, and then this happened. I missed some trash, but we will talk about this in a minute. Due to us never phasing the boss in 2 rounds, we barely managed to kill the boss within 1 minute left. Now, a good tank would have had a 100% route, it would have been timed. And also, in a good dungeon, you usually have an NPC that will teleport you back to the entrance, but in here, that bitch is locked behind some RP. And so we moved back and killed mobs that didn't give any count. Like, what the fuck? So we failed. First actual deplete of the series, and it feels kind of shit that it was due to a routing issue. Now let's see what I could have done to easily fill up that percentage without having an extra pull. Well, for one, I could have pulled a few of those little sack nibblers at the second boss. They don't really do shit, but give some percentage. Or the game could work as intended, because I figured out what my problem was. You see, this one mob in the pack I pulled onto the first boss simply didn't move at all. I mean, if this thing isn't connected to the pack, what is? It's in the middle of it. What sucks even more is that this was less than 1% when I checked before the second boss, because if it would be an obvious amount, I would have pulled a bit more. Now, sure, a lot of things went wrong here. The damage was technically not enough for this key range and needs some work, as this only got so close because of the super generous timer of Seed, and also having a guy DCing and dying due to lag spikes non-stop didn't help. However, it was timeable, which kinda proves my point that tanks are in a position to even make those runs doable with a proper route. I'ma keep that one mob in mind for the next run, that's for sure. Now to be fair, this was kinda just my fault for making a route so close to the 100% count. No room for errors, and a bit cocky for sure. So I recommend a route with maybe 102% until you're completely sure what you're doing, I guess. Funny enough though, this is now the second out of 3 12s I did where the damage was lower than I expected. So to see if that's the current problem, we go into a dungeon where the timer truly matters. AA, aka A double, aka absolutely asshole of a timer. I mean, we all know about this big pull, right? You know, the one that DPS just love and have wet dreams over. because that's the screenshot they send around to their friends. The one's healer dread because tanks often don't take any damage and all of a sudden they collapse in a heartbeat. And the one tanks also enjoy because their ignorant damage-driven brain doesn't comprehend the insane debuff the flowers put on your ass until it's too late. So, let's do it. I mean, it looks like a similar problem we had during our first siege just moments ago, right? And boy did I have to run, because Lashers hit a bleed on you which stacks infinitely. It's rough to truly gauge the impact of these, as with our amount of self-heal we can deal with them pretty easily until we cannot. So as a general advice, don't be scared to kite. If you have to jump away to live, do it. 4-5 stacks, just run out, man. On DK I can't jump, which is kinda shit, but I can cheat. The Dwarven stone form is pretty insane for this. The damage reduction itself is neat already, but the removal of harmful spells and bleeds is just out of control nice. I just had to run a lot due to the pull living forever though. The boss damage also looks kinda scuffed. However, the biggest problem in this dungeon is that, as I mentioned, the timer is not as forgiving or generous as it is in any other dungeon. The lack of damage we really felt during the bird fight. Not only did I zone out eventually and got knockback, which procced by Purgatory for the first time since starting doing 10s, the boss ultimately also was too much for our healer and overwhelmed him. But no problem. Oh, maybe problem? No problem. Now granted, AA is the only dungeon I don't have a route for at all, and I just wing it every time. Depending on someone body pulling the only pack I want to skip, but generally it doesn't matter too much. The trash at the end of the dungeon hurts like hell, but also gives some massive count. So in case you overpull a little bit, you can still skip one pack in the end and it's okay. Needless to say though, I couldn't do the big trash pull before Veximus, and as I was scared, we don't got enough thunder in our thighs. To be fair, I also think our healer was just often overwhelmed with the amount of damage coming in, considering he only timed in 9 so far while healing, which is understandable. Such as this moment. Now you see him, now you don't. I wonder who had his kick up to prevent this, lol. In the end of the day, 13 deaths were too much, and without them we probably had a good chance of at least timing the key, if barely. And I again figured that it wasn't the gameplay or the lack of mechanical knowledge of the players, because frankly, I don't think I remember a time where a party played all bosses pretty much perfectly, to a point where I can say that this is the cleanest final boss room I've ever looked at in my runs. It was just again the raw force of damage and occasional maybe a bit healing. And you may think I over-exaggerate when I'm saying I never had this issue before in almost any key I played, on either tank or healer, but it currently feels like people in 10s dish out way more damage than on 12s. Maybe it's the lack of the affix DPS, maybe it's also because I don't really feel it in 10s because it's still playable, maybe it's the fact that deaths actually matter now, or maybe it's the fact that with so much free gear, the key scaling being a bit behind the power curve, or maybe because the rating inflation is just an absolute peak this season, something is off. So I have to figure out if it was me, and it wasn't. It was just the luck of the draw. Look at these bad boys in another seat. Now that's what I'm talking about.